It's amazing how close this thing has to be to your face so you can actually hear me like a normal human being. But hello, how are you doing? I want to get a video out about Sikhs. Obviously, because of the Henry Noakes situation, a Sikh was involved. A Sikh is currently in prison for 21 years, and a lot of people suddenly have an opinion on Sikhs. I want to tell you about the incident that informed me of my opinion of Sikhs. It was the year 2000. Back in the year, yeah. Yeah, anyway. I was living in Vancouver and I was working for a Christian charity. I was a practicing Christian, which is to say I went to church services and did all that stuff, hymns, praying, all that nonsense. I don't do that anymore, even though I do consider myself a Christian, by just doing the normal be nice to people stuff. Anyway, one day I had to get from A to B. I had to go and meet some people, but everybody had went ahead of me because I had some other stuff to do before I went, and I ended up having to take a taxi. So the taxi rocked up. I went out. I jumped in the passenger seat. I have a bit of a thing about using the passenger seat, not the back seat, because I don't like to feel like I'm being chauffeur driven. And sure enough, I looked over at the driver, and he was a Sikh. I didn't notice at the time. I just noticed that he wasn't white, had a turban, and his English was fluent but accented. So he's much like my own. Anyway, he's like, "Where do you want to go?" I told him. Off we go, and he starts the cabbie patter. Where you from? Da da da. So he's like, "Where's your accent from?" I says, "I'm English, Northeast English." He goes, "Oh, right, and what are you doing in Vancouver?" I says, "I come out to work for a charity, a church charity." He says, "Oh, yeah." He says, "What kind of charity?" I says, "Oh, we do this, we do that." And then he says, "So you're a Christian, are you?" I says, "Aye." And he says, "So," and then he asked us, I can remember, he asked us, "So what does a Christian get up to," sort of thing, like, "How often do you pray?" I'm like, "Every day." He went, "For how long?" I went, 15 minutes. It was sort of a good thing I'd been on a course the other week before, and it actually said you should be praying for at least 15 minutes a day. So I had a number for him. But and he says, "Ah, well, you see, I'm a Sikh." And I was like, "All right," because I didn't want to say, "What's a Sikh?" I might have actually said that because I know what I'm like. But anyway, so on went this conversation about the different methods of worship and religion between the evangelical Christian faith and the Sikh faith. And it was, it is what it is. The conversation killed 10 minutes in a taxi. I jumped out, waved through the window, and I'm like, "Thanks for the lift." And he's like, "Oh, no problem. You be a good Christian." And I went, "No problem. You be a good Sikh." And we did literally finish on those words. Then I waved him off, and I've never seen him since in the interim 26 years. So I got into the house where I was going. Everybody was already sitting in the garden, and I went, "Oh, I've just got a taxi ride off a Sikh." He goes, "All right." And "How did that go?" And I went, "It was all right. Yeah, we talked about this, we talked about that." And at the end, he told me to be a good Christian, so I had to say be a good Sikh. And a few people were sort of not put out, but somebody thought it was funny. I think I was meant to have evangelized to him. I'm not sure what you can do in 10 minutes, and I hate doing that. It's just a awkward conversation. It's one of the things that put me off it, to be honest. Just anyway, that doesn't make any difference. So that was my first and lasting impression of a very what appeared to be just a very civil and you know decent bloke. I I just like that this situation. Obviously, the most appalling point of this civil situation is that a poor lad lies dead. But I mean, it's been flogged for everything it's worth, and I don't like that. But if even if the the backlash was directed solely against Sikhs, for a start, I mean, I know plenty plenty of just white on white crime around my place. There's a town not too far from here. I won't name it, but it's it's like a pincushion in there. I swear to God, it's you. There are some places where you don't have to be a different color to get a knife in the back and some jobs. It's don't think I don't think that banning people from this country will have any sort of positive effect on knife crime. And even if it did, I mean, what else would happen? My all these people, all this revenue and income and all that. I had a I had a thought when I was initially recording this video. This is about my third attempt because I like to I don't like to write it down. I just like to say it a few times till I get it right. And one of the things I remembered was there was a Filipino man who lived in California called Angel Cabales. And not to make a great long story about this, he was an expert in knife fighting because of the Filipino martial arts, and he got into a lot of trouble. So I thought there's there is a culture I know a little bit more about, the Filipino culture, not too much, but I've known a lot of Filipinos who live here. They come over here to work for the NHS. A lot of them are Christian. I met a few of them in the church I used to go to before I sacked the whole thing off. But what do you do if Angel Cabales suddenly lived in the UK, who liked his drink and he liked his knifing? And then all of a sudden it's in the paper, such and such stabs person. Does that mean that there is a logical argument to deport every Filipino nurse in the country? What would happen? Every Filipino worker in hospitality, it would be a disaster. Even if it was fair, which it is not. I'm the same color as a lot of people who stabbed somebody. Does that mean I've got to go somewhere? No, look, no. The individual who done the crime has been sentenced and is being punished, and apparently he's getting a hard time of it in prison. I can't confirm that. I have very little sympathy for anything that happens to that man at this point, regardless of his faith. And that's all we can do. I know it's tempting to lash out, but in cold rage, of course. But no, this isn't the time for being angry. This is a time for cool heads, because everything that can be done about that situation, that one individual situation, is being done. So calm down. And if somebody tells you not to calm down, just seriously, you want to think about how much you listen to that person. Right. Have a good one. See you next time.